It's just off the coast of the sea. It's called the Kai Field Sediment. The sea ice is slowly breaking apart. The waves fluttered and the wind blew endlessly. The shaman and rich man looked at the situation. The ocean's waves are getting stronger, into a white foam. The magician, under rich, looked at the scepter. It has a tri-label element. Don't take your eyes off, he frowned. The tense face said no. Unordered chaotic element power. That's not a good point. At the same time, the eye element glowed. And then turn it around. Shaman under rich aesthetic in the lap. That a magician's intuition says he knows. There's some terrifying force that's being formed. There's no time. We need to move this intelligence out quickly. Getting the esteem of wizard addicts. Speak aloud in panic. What did you say? I tightly knit my hands together. The tense face continued. The visual element is dynamic. Retreat from all the coastal cities. The situation is so serious. Tzensi respectfully 2 hands. Magician's mail and rich Cho exile. Then speak, your majesty. Please look at the android telegram. Android goes to. It's the center of the land. It's called the field of the visual element. Here's the source of the world element. He looked at the newspaper and said, the field element moves once it is released. The Black Sea will be attacked first. Until then, it's all too late. Ellie's face also became tense. It's simple to say, grace to grace. Do you know how much pressure there is? A few days ago, Everg announced the ban. Garrison of the border has led to the insecurity of cynicism. Now the whole city is thrown away. Save when knit 2 hands start to analyze. Abandon the city. It's simple to say. The coastal city is very prosperous. It's still where the money is. If it's just banned, it can also be through resource coordination to maintain life. If it's to throw away the retreat to the Han dynasty, it will hurt 7 very badly. Then I asked Tzensi again. The movement that you 2 planned, is it really that serious? Tzensi looked at the pedestal with very serious eyes. He answered with a question. Your Majesty feels. Issue 7 on withdrawal, and the entire coastal city perished. Light on which side is heavy? Hear that? Mina and Ellie opened their mouths in horror. And the wind is still pondering. My eyes are glitter. Facing down out the window, looking out into the distance. I'm sad to say, this is a SAO disaster. It's scary. After a long thought, Your Majesty stood up and stood up, hands on the table, seeming determined, make a decision out loud. His reign, temporarily dispose of the entire coastal city. Tell AVG all residents to forcibly withdraw. Capital ships retreated into the river area, waiting for news if there is a protest. The order was signed by me personally. Ellie and Mina 2 eyes glitter. Look at the wind and choke. Call out your name, young master. They are not willing to obey this order. Because if you do that, then the image of exile in the hearts of the people will be shattered. A gentle smile reassured the 2 girls. I know you are good for me. We are afraid of being misunderstood by the people, but the life of the Han dynasty. For us to say, always on top, facing unknown danger. We can't bet. Mina understood the matter of obeying the young master. I'll contact Aveni. Included with notice for all coastal cities. Ellie, follow Mina. Take care of the work that your Majesty has given you. She cheers the spirit, let me go. Ellie also believed in the young master's judgment. Let's start acting. Tzensi is still standing there. Ellie called Tzensi. This is all the trouble you 2 bring. Come and help. Gen Shi Gia replied, "Oh, it's just me sitting in the room." He sighed sadly. "I hope this time we're just too worried." This time in the port city, the heavy snow caused the lake to freeze. All work is more complicated. After receiving notification from government agencies, become the owner, the people in the city are terrified. Bewildered, they huddle together to talk. Some people can't stay calm and speak out loud. Throw out the city. Are you kidding me? Why did you pull out? It's just a snowstorm. Do you need to make it that big? The merchant wore a black vest, face not resigned. Stiff confrontation with Avengi. I've been trading for years. It's not easy to make a fortune. You told me to throw it away. The man in blue also presented his background. My whole family grew up here. Where to move? How do you clean up? App gently reassures the bewilderment. Fear in the hearts of the people. You said we were just a temporary retreat. Once the danger is over, it will come back. 01 AI among the people accepted this leave instruction. Of Liu Feng, they're going crazy. What are you kidding? I don't want to leave my house. They all say the same thing. That's right, that's right. AVG is frozen in the middle of this wave of protests. They miss home and ask. SAO don't think about our difficulties. It has been banned. Now the house has no income, even if they are just civilians. Just think of your own interests in front of you. How can we look far ahead? We know what the consequences will be. You can't blame them either. Avizi can't stay calm anymore. The hedgehog yelled loudly. So why do disgruntled people stay waiting to die? To hear a life-threatening statement. Everyone is extremely confused. The residents are huddled in the erosion. What you just said was the SAO. What's the game? You finally showed your true face, little girl. Listen to these words of the people. AVG swiped the sword out. Point at these people. Angry face torture. To play. Are you asking me, or do I ask you? Since His Majesty's accession to the throne, have you ever made any false judgments? Ever treated really for any cuneiform yet? The sword was placed on the merchant's shoulder. Wear a black top. It made him shiver and sweat. Avizi recounts the successes that an adventurer built. Your Majesty, who makes food grow. Make sure everyone has food. It's constantly bringing new technology. Let your life get better and better. These words of Avizi. Keep the people quiet. I just saw my face too. Eyes glitter sadly. The blonde softly replied, no wrong. Oveng continues to speak. Now, the cataclysm is only for your protection. I ask you to coordinate. You can't do it. People are always a little hesitant. They whisper to each other. Your Majesty has never said anything wrong. Then a determined looking at. Hands up high. I strongly agree with this decision of the Founding Fathers. Your Majesty. I believe Your Majesty. I agree to withdraw. All eyes are on this woman. And then all the guns talk to each other. Maybe there is a disaster. I also agreed to withdraw. After reading the minds of the people. The alphabet is also somewhat secure. Put the sword back in. Aveni's eyes were a little satisfied. She smiled silently in her heart. Fortunately, there is a young man's leadership. The people finally accepted the arrangement. Retreat and throw away the city. I hope we still have a chance to come back. The snow is falling more and more. Whitewash the sky. Move the scene to the lab in the master's castle. JC came running up. The amazing voice said this is. In Chuzenzi's hand, holding a test tube. It's got yellow elemental particles inside. It's constantly moving. He stared at her and hurried to ask her. Element granules, high purity, high grade. At least 20 times more power than normal. How do you do that? She smiled and modestly said, "Good luck." Then she explained, "This is a hunch that when I talk to the young master. Random thought out, get the boost on the centrifuge. Take the centrifuge level up to the strategic super level. It's possible to get stronger pure elemental particles." Tozensi looked at Luffy with admiring eyes. And then admiring. "Genius. You're a genius. Happy not long ago." His face became sad, and he continued, "But I also had a little trouble. This premium grain, however, is more powerful. The transmission is also stronger, but it's extremely dissipating. Can't use a normal vacuum. To contain you look. It's slowly dissipating." Tozensi close observation test tube. Stroking his beard with a judgmental expression. "You can't use a vacuum bottle. It's hard to go. There's a thud outside the door. A voice that says, 'Oh. Looks like I came at the right time. That's Philip, the famous wizard.'" She leaned against the door and stroked her chin. "Received your request for help. We thought you were dead. Jesse can see you again. It's a shame." Philip's appearance left the Tozensi gaping. I was surprised to ask Philip, "Why are you here again?" Philip replied with a smile. He was going to pick up the body instead. But then she walked to the U-Fi. "Take the test tube in your hand." Philip looked up and gave a delighted smile. "I think I've found a new toy." Philip held up the test tube and shook it. "Old Jensi V show," says Philip. "I can't believe the person who came to the rescue was you." Philip smiled and said, "It's not just me. I lead a team. Prepared to go deep into the colonial sediments to study." Tozensi, pointing hand in, cute little girl Luffy. With a proud expression on his face. "No need to probe. There are resources here for research. This is a newly awakened witch. In terms of research, she's a genius." So Philip squinted at U-Fi. She said coldly, "Research genius." She stepped to stroke U-Fi's chin. Make U-Fi extremely tense. Philip smiled and said that I was really interested. "She is also a lovely girl. You can make this toy." At this moment, suddenly, the wind knocked on the door. Your face is filled with fatigue, loud calls for dance. "Are you here? Raw materials for elemental bullets. It's been discussed. The following is Philip's presence here. That's amazing. You for an hour." Wu Fei was also surprised to answer the young master. Philip looked at His Royal Highness and smiled and said, "You're the king in Sao legend. First time meeting your majesty." And then, in some magical way, U-Fi Australia chooses face to Double Mountain
Philip's
area. Spy bug. U-Fi flushed face up. The mouth is crying. Ask yourself who you are. In my mind right now, focus on one thing Philip's missing. The aesthetic is too big. Tozensi rushed to introduce. This is my journey to the truth of hate. Get my call for help. They're here to help us do elemental research. Philip married me. Put your glasses up and say it yourself. I'm Philip. The wizard wants my help. You have to take out the corresponding intention. Jiang, two hands extremely happy face said. The good news is that the research team has expanded. Welcome to the Han Dynasty. Philip, big door of engineering research delegation. Always open it for you. I immediately ran back to the crazy place. And I hold you. Then he told the young master to reassure her. Africa, don't be too nervous. Take Philip to learn about the Han Dynasty. Could it be thanks to you and Tyzency? Wu Fei obeyed the young master's answer. Tell Philip about the situation right now. The love of elemental oscillation is getting more and more intense. In front of my eyes, we will definitely gather all our strength. Can be maneuvered through this difficult time. Philip asked doubtfully. The power can be controlled. This sentence probably also includes me, Sao. Smiling replied, of course. Philip said with an arrogant expression. I'm very expensive. Take out the machine and say. Specialties of the Han dynasty. The machines and synchronous, the right to use and read elemental research results. That's enough. Philip seems to like the belly. She nodded and asked freely. The condition is so. Put your hand on the horse and answer. Give you the freedom of research. But in terms of the holistic direction that Yu Fai is in charge of, that the results of research, the Han dynasty also had the right to use. Philip replied, I agree. That's it. The two exiles and Philip shook hands. Phillips puts two hands on Yu Fai's shoulder, then immediately expel her. Just go and say, it shouldn't be too late. We are now. Let's start studying these magical things. I'm scared, he said. Wait a minute, let me go. Everybody go. I'm the only one standing raw. He panicked, calling out. Hey, don't forget me. An extrovert's face full of joy and contentment. I also have some peace of mind. The production of elemental bullets has been sorted out. The research team is also growing. Maybe we can rest assured for a while. Transfer, scene to the Kingdom Representative Office. Fabro Ferguser, sitting crooked. Scar skin on the throne chair. He asked Sander Ra how the army regulates. Then Sander Ra knelt to the ground. Face down in reply. The military has completed the adjustment, gathered on the four sides of the city. We await your majesty's orders. Ferguson laughed and said it was not bad. Then he shouted out his orders. Summon 50,000 farmers. It's a road that can hold 50 horses. They're coming from the Fapro border. Directly related to the kingdom. Go to work. Suddenly, a blonde, dressed quite like people in the aristocracy. Raise your hand to express your opinion. He said he was shaking 7 people. Power down. 50,000 farmers in a short time is very difficult to do. That the next year's food harvest. Ferguson frowned furiously, and he let out an hour. The red-eyed soldier, as if understanding Ferguson's orders, he drew his sword. The man who had just sputtered his mouth. Your face is sweating. Hurry to confirm more. Your Majesty, I say the truth. Your Highness Ferguson doesn't care about these words. He raised his hand to his mouth and signaled for the soldiers to come out. A stream of fresh blood spurting out, shoot everywhere with it. It's a miserable sound. Everyone who saw the scene was terrified. This is a warning from the Ferguson. For those who disagree with him. He asked how he remembered it. My orders are to be obeyed without question. Ferguson loud call Cleveland. The client stood up with his hands on his chest and bowed his head. They have followers. Fergu anti-hand, paint on chin, with a sinister smile said. I also have a glorious mission to give you. To summon 100,000 great armies to destroy the family. You wizards, it kills the scraps that can't manipulate the element. It's just like strangling an ant, right? We are not allowed to prolong the war. Our patience is also limited. Cleveland listened to him and said, yes. His Highness Ferguson urged to go. Liverland replied to his subordinates out on the street. People who lack food are lying around. They are pleading, please give some. We really don't have food. So many people come together to form a top. To protest. The loud voices. The supplies have been handed over. Our family is starving. The tyrant of Forguzen paid them. I am a way of life. The soldiers are extremely cold-blooded. They brutally killed hundreds of people. That 07 terrible hands. The whole sky turned red with blood. And somewhere there's a cry of pain. It hurts to hear. A mighty army of the Forguzen regime gathered in the square. Their faces have no emotion at all. On the contrary, I'm very proud of the corpses that have piled up here. The Forguzen standing on the castle, looking down at the corpses being consumed by the fire. He gave a happy smile. Then there was a loud shout. Burn up and suffer. It doesn't matter if the whole kingdom is destroyed. Your bodies will make a way. Your blood will wash the gates. You will be the guide to welcome the Christian family. Han's Secret Service. The king watched all the moves. Action of the name Ferguson. But worry in my heart. Farber's king is crazy. Third-party power. It has indeed penetrated this land. Must quickly think of a way. Take the news back to your majesty. In the forest near the Kai Min settlement, in the middle of the heavy snow, the secret service of the Han dynasty. In the FA Empire, the Raz Bank was discovered, and he's being chased by an FA cavalry officer. The horseman ran behind him and yelled at him. Where do you want to run? I think it's hiding in the settlement. There's nothing we can do. SAO people, the secret police of the Han dynasty, turned the direction of running, grinned and said, I didn't expect it, did I? Your stupid attention isn't working. His spy. The crown feels the hair at the back. You're speeding up. But the cavalry jumped ahead. Standing in front of you. He pulled out his shiny sharp sword. And then I said, submit your life. His secret agent, the kingdom, is gaping in terror. The cavalryman stabbed the spy twice in the stomach. Make the spy fall to the ground. A voice full of pain. Fresh blood mixes into the snow, so it's frozen. The masked cavalryman said kindly, this time you have no way out. Secret agents of the Han dynasty, hugging wounds. My face says, I can't believe you can rely on this heavy shirt. Resistance to dilute circumstances. The cavalry replied, this is the work of our Yasuo chess family. Go to hell and repent. The secret service of the Han dynasty. He quickly pulled out a mini-mine. Then he held on to the cavalry. Mini-mine hits the ground. There was an explosion with a faint white smoke. People can't see anything in front of them. What did the astonished cavalryman say? He is extremely worthy of death. I can't believe there are so many tricks. It's fast. Where are you going? The cavalryman looked at the blood beneath the white snow. He said with a smile full of satisfaction, let me find the mouse tail. It's getting dark, and the snow is getting heavier. It's getting colder. The secret service of the Han dynasty. He was stabbed in the stomach by 2 swords. I can't drive a car, I'm exhausted. With a lot of movement, it makes the wound worse. He thought the vision was so vague. Too much blood loss. The Fabro story. You must tell your majesty. I have to try to force, to spy on the wings of the gong tree, who tried his best to stretch his body. To the land that intersects with the Kai Min sediment, the secret agent of the Han dynasty fell to his knees. Muttered, save your majesty. He used his hand to scratch the cold snow, so that the body can move forward. Where do you crawl? Blood flows out there. I'm lucky there's a purple-haired girl in front of me. Queenie is stroking her dragon. Quincy saw the young man lying unconscious, crumbling under the ground. The bleeding doesn't stop. Step closer. You can see the overall picture. Watch this friend fall from the sky. He's seriously injured. It's a carpet. Queenie helps the secret agent of the Han dynasty rise. He used the rest of his breath, trying to get Queenie to help me. Please help me. Through the land of retreat back to the Han dynasty. Qianxi was surprised to ask the Han dynasty. The detective spoke hesitantly about the place. Advanced techniques, computational happiness. I told you about the Pro 7. Then the boy fell to the ground, but still gripping the wrist of Quishi. Quincy's face was a little confused right now. Panic, hurry up and repeat what you just heard. Advanced technology. Your Majesty, please try a little. At this moment, the cavalry of the Fabro kingdom. He also caught up with the Han dynasty. He landed on the ground laughing. I found you. The bewildered face didn't understand anything. To ask the spies of the Han dynasty. In the end, something happened. In the Kai Ria settlement, you have a civilized country. The cavalry of the checkered shore. Draw the Lao sword to the secret of the Han dynasty. See that, Quishi hastily pulled the secret of Han dynasty, Ra, to avoid the sword. And then you winced your face and asked who you were. QC took the secret of Han dynasty. Next to the dragon. Then try to ask more. A little persistence. At least tell me your last words. The spy replied. From the northwest into the quiet land. Go south for half a day. In the checkered phase has the third power. The Kyasu clan said here secretly fell into a coma. He fainted, Quishi said aloud in panic. You wake up and turn around. Immediately, Quincy carried the spy. He jumped on the back of his dragon. It took the cavalry 5 seconds. Looking dumbfounded, Quincy pulls the reins hard on the dragon's butt. You always blame Harry. You son of a bitch are annoying. The dragon is ordered by the master. It's going fast forward. It's a blue light. And saw only the cavalryman standing still and not moving. Quishi used his power to attack him. She turned her head and said, "It is because you suddenly appeared. We are a legitimate defense." The horseman fell to the ground. There are wounds all over you. Blood splashed out. He still can't believe that. I died at the hands of a woman. With just one trick, his mouth faltered. Why is it possible? Quincy puts his hand on the nose of the clandestine to feel the breath, but it's gone. She sighed and said this friend had stopped breathing. I have a problem and haven't finished asking. She let the spy down from the back of the dragon. Then he held a wild flower in his hand and said emotionally, My friend doesn't know your name. But it's good to meet. I can feel your strong sense of trust. Civilized country in the depression of Sao. It sounds very advanced. I'm a little interested. A cry of pain. The horseman's grief echoed. Quincy stepped back to look at her chin and asked for skin. Are you still alive? The soldier hesitated to use some strength. I finally asked you. Who are you to confront the Kuyasu clan? Quincy squinted his eyes thoughtfully. I don't know what happened to you. But you killed my friend who met my face. He's providing intelligence that we're interested in. I have no interest in killing you myself. How to do it? After a moment of thought, Queenie jumped out. Good idea. Your eyes are shining like that. Then I saw Queenie's dragon take up her armor. Close on him. Kugi looked back and asked, What do you want to do? The dragon stripped off the armor of the cavalryman Ra. Quincy stroked the dragon and smiled. There's no protective suit. Directly exposed under low elemental circumstances. If you are the Yasuo flag family or something. Life has come to an end. The mask the cavalryman was wearing also fell. It smells terrible rotting. The soldier looks pathetic. He grimaced his face. The mouth doesn't stop. Save me because it's too cold. And also because of the destruction of the elements. On him. Quishi laughed sarcastically, saying, the people here are rotting themselves. Then you jump on the back of the dragon. His face was filled with excitement. We need to go to a new country. How to watch. She turned to look at the secret of the Han dynasty. With an affectionate gaze, then tell him to rest assured. Rest in peace, my friend. I will help you bring it to the end. Through a snowstorm night. Quishi with his companion. It's a giant dragon is also about to arrive, an advanced civilized school. It is now in the owner's house. La's face was quite excited. She gave a loud announcement to His Majesty. Lack of good news. Newspaper warehouse according to the latest statistics. Our food is a bountiful harvest. Liu Feng smiled happily and said, it's so good, show it to me quickly. Save the report. Look without hiding the joy. You said such a good number. Even if there's a sudden movement. In a short time, they are not hungry. L.A. Gay replies. That's right, this amount of salary. It's about making people feel safe. A serious expression reminded Ellie, but can't be ignored. Starting tomorrow. Start to reduce the supply, basically. Make sure everyone is dead. A little salary. Ellie raised her chin, not understanding His Majesty Liu Feng's intentions. Immediately asked questions. There's a lot of food, so we need to survive. Mina believes in Liu Feng's decisions. You make a claim. Master's arrangement has its ethics. People who have never been wrong. His Majesty knits his hands together. Eyes down at the table. A thoughtful face said, I have a feeling in one place. We don't know. Something's already started to arise. So because of the long-term combat, we have to do the best preparation. It's all thanks to everyone. Ellie and Mina answered in unison. That is why everyone has a mission. Ellie told me to report the payrolls. Mina also spoke. I went to discuss adjustments with the military. It's just me sitting in the room. I looked out the window. There's only one white. Because the snow is falling thick and dark. Over here, the blizzard. The secret service of the Han dynasty. He left peacefully. Because before you lost all the information you transmitted. Reaching out for Quishi. A person who is serious. Even though we only knew each other for 50 minutes. Wild flower that Quishi gave to the spies of the Han dynasty. It's a promise between you and him. Aesthetic saving in the end. What happened? Back to the Han dynasty on the street. Everyone heeded the call. Prepare to fight your Majesty Liu Feng. But the life of the polyglot is still happily sequential. Except to test the new material of the wing. Help Africa and Philip. People don't seem to get used to this. In the lab right now. Philip spoke up. Unexpected is the second-generation element plan. It's really doable. Power is not bad to help Africa respond. That's good. However, you still need French to light the fire. Element metabolism performance is also low, but it's twice as stable as the first life. Philip laughed. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. Piss help Phi in such a short time can be so groundbreaking. You're a genius. Let go. To help him emotionally snug into Philip's chest. The engine prototype has been completed. This road can go. The following work. It's just constantly intensifying. This is true, but time does not wait. Help Phi explain. Missing GIA because of the cynicism of the dynasty with all his heart. I also want to make sure people are safe. Philip was surprised. Is so, SAO. Philip asked for help. Not by talking first. You're a witch now. Think about how I am a monk. To the surprise of African helpers, Philip explained, I am the illustrious shaman of earthly truth. God gave you more of my teaching. It will soon become. If you had wanted to help your father, then definitely should foster more magic power. There's nothing bad about you. Help Africa feel right. That's what it is. Help me walk up to the machine and sigh. But you should let it go. Help Africa continue, because he opened up the way for science and technology. Let me be a young man. I don't want to suddenly change. I don't think. Science and technology are two systems. These two things are similar. Just keep referring. We say we can find the truth. Philip heard these words proudly. She replied that she was not ashamed that the head was targeted by me. It's this pulse. You too are excited to walk. Go and show him our progress. People, it's going to give us more funding and more resources. Save the wind. Get elemental smelter of Help-Fi. Help Africa, you are a genius. In just a few short days, the second generation is already making progress. Philip rubbed his head and answered. That studied Ra, bullet, element, and other real-world weapons, nor leave it behind. You really use all your strength to help. Thanks for that. To hold her hand, she said. Hard for you and Help Africa. Although the situation is not optimistic, but you also need to pay attention to your body. It took me 5 seconds to respond. Yes, master, nothing. Liu Feng said more. Why is there nothing? Element generator, if it can be put into actual combat. It's about our military strength. That's a huge turning point. Philip laughed monkey right. So once the problem of motivation is solved, indicator of thermo weapon features high, like this cannon, will be raised. Get excited to add to the story. That's right, steam trains. This logistics will also be picked up. A new technical reform. I'm glad to think about it. Think about a bright future. Without fail to expect, too good to say. It's also possible to create some elemental battleships. The tank should also. Great army of Han Dynasty champion. Then we'll have nothing to worry about. Save the letter of praise for Phi. Help Africa. You certainly don't trust me. She was the greatest scientist of the Han Dynasty. Help Africa. Happy to respond. Thank you for your praise. Philip took this opportunity lightly. Your Majesty, the research funding and materials. Save Feng understand immediately, without hesitation. He ordered the approval, of course. Because of the elemental cannon and the elemental battleship, full force of research and development, elemental material things continue to be Philip's, and Help Africa accelerate its research. In the following days, people are still jerking off somewhere because of the loud explosions. It exploded again. But the probability of total metabolism is good this time, increased to 5% because of the elemental cannons and the elemental battleships. People after so many times, they are also used to this kind of life. No longer startled. Get out of the port city now. The customs chief is still listening closely to the situation. He's worried. It's my wrong feeling. Why does the iceberg outside seem more and more? Your Majesty's judgment is correct. The leader looked for a moment and then asked his subordinates, have all the people in town left? He replied that he had just finished. The last man's retreat was complete. The town is no longer a shadow. Don't worry, he can give the order now. On your Majesty's orders. The entire fleet retreated 5 miles into the river. The customs chief appointed the day of the return. Leaving home is only temporary. We'll be back sooner or later. In the extreme cold in the distance right now, the thin bird quietly soared in the sky, in front of the magician under Rich. He's been here listening for signs for a long time. Android recognizes. Defense magic is about to fail. Then SAO like this is too large consumption.